Hello and welcome to another episode of the Adrienne Ross Show, where sports and culture connect. I did a video yesterday in which I talked a little bit about the interview Napheesa Collier did on First Take. Molly pushing the ESPN agenda. Of course, you know ESPN has an agenda. Led the witness. You know what I mean by leading the witness? Napheesa Collier was the metaphorical witness, and Molly wanted to ask her about the Indiana Fever having 41 out of 44 games on national television, asking her if it's fair. Check out my video on that if you missed it. The better question would have simply been to ask her what she thought about the Indiana Fever having 41 games on national television. No need to talk about the New York Liberty and if it's fair and all that. That's leading the witness. Just ask the question. But of course, once again, ESPN has an agenda, and we got to witness that. If you know, you know, and certainly you know, right? Well, I want to get a little bit more into that interview. So let's take a look at some key points, and I'm going to stop along the way and point out some things that I think are very important and very aggressive in terms of ESPN's narrative, using, of course, Stephen A., the willing participant in the forming of this narrative that has to do with JuJu Watkins. We'll start here on Complex Sports on X.
Napheesa Collier is here with us now. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
right.
How you doing?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
All right.
Oh my goodness. That has to be the most awkward start of an interview I've ever seen. It's like Stephen A. just bobbing his head because he has no idea who Napheesa Collier is besides her name. Now, I know he tries to pretend that he watches women's basketball. He ain't watching no women's basketball other than JuJu. And even that, he's only watching highlights. So that silence there is absolutely hilarious because nobody knows what they're doing here. Okay. Anyway, I got to go back just for the fun of it.
He's here with us now. Thanks so much for joining us.
Hello, hello.
Hello,
All right.
How you doing?
Hello, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you guys?
All right.
Steven is like, anyway, and then later on in the interview, I don't know if it comes out in the couple pieces I'm going to show you. You got Shannon Sharp calling her, does your family call you Napheesa? Or do they call you Fee? She's like, nobody on the planet calls me Napheesa but you. Okay. Anyway. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. It just everybody wants to embrace the women's sports now. We know why, and so they're trying. You got to give them that effort, right? The effort grade. The C is a C for effort, or I don't think it's an A, but maybe a C for effort. Anyway, I'm just off on a tangent. Let's keep going to get to the points I want to make.
All right, let's get right into the devastating news. Napheesa, what was your reaction to JuJu and obviously USC and her torn ACL?
I have to stop here and say this. There's something to be said for questions that make sense. What was your reaction to JuJu getting injured, tearing her ACL? What possible answer could there be other than, obviously, like every one of us, it's devastating. It was horrible to see. What is the point of the question? What else is she going to say? What else is there to say? So starting your interview with let's get into the devastating news. What was your reaction? My goodness, what possible answer could there be? Anyway, just foolish questions are annoying, and I know we talk about having media training and PR training, and obviously you have to make the best of it, and that is really important. But these questions, they really do need to shore up some of the things that they're asking here. But anyway, let's keep going.
I mean, it's just so heartbreaking, honestly, for anyone to get an injury. You never want to see that, but especially at this time of the year when she's obviously so critical to her team as well. It's really heartbreaking. So definitely my thoughts are with her and her family at this time, because, I know she's going to come back better than ever, but the timing is definitely, it sucks.
She did a good job answering a question that nobody should have to answer. In any case, let's continue, because I want you to pay close attention to what Stephen A says next, what he asks, because I'm telling you, a narrative is being formed way before it's needed, but the groundwork is being laid. So let's continue.
Napheesa, fantasize this for me. If JuJu never gets hurt, what did you see her doing in this NCAA tournament, and what did you see USC doing?
Well, they were supposed to play UConn next round, so hopefully not going much farther past that. I thought that was going to be a great game, though. So, but I mean, she's a great player, and I mean, I think it would have been a great game. I think it would have been the two best players in college basketball right now going at each other, and to see them do that at this level right now, it would have been really fun to watch. Obviously, I have to pick my Huskies in that matchup, but it would have been a fun game.
Now, if Napheesa had been in on the business meeting, and trust me, I worked in the journalism field for 11 years. There's a meeting, there's a plan, there's an agenda. Had she been in on the business meeting, she would have given him the answer he was hoping she would give. And that is that absolutely, had JuJu not gotten hurt, she would have been absolutely the star of the tournament, and USC would therefore have won the title. But she's a UConn Husky, always, even though she's no longer in college. That's her alma mater, and she made it plain. They would have come up against UConn, and I would have gone for UConn. But obviously, JuJu is important to her team. He just kind of had a look on his face because he didn't anticipate that. Next time, invite her to the pre-interview meeting. And I'm going to get back to that, because after the interview continues, and of course, I showed a piece yesterday in which she was asked about the television schedule and all that. So then, before they let her go, Stephen A wants to make sure he gets that agenda in. So let's listen to this. And we're over at ESPN.
Go Huskies, Napheesa. Are you feeling good? What do you think? Who most stands in the way?
Should be feeling good now. JuJu got hurt.
Hanging another banner?
I'm going to stop here because I want to make sure you heard what Stephen A said. Look at the look on his face there as well. Now, of course, I stopped it mid-blink, but it was a long blink and his mouth was poked out, and there's a reason for it. So I'm going to back it up again. They're ending the interview here. And so Molly's asking her, saying to her, go Huskies, before they let her go. Are you feeling good about the Huskies? I want you to hear what he said. I'm not even going to tell you what he said yet. I'm going to tell you try to tune out Molly. Listen to what Stephen A says after her question.
Go Huskies, Napheesa. Are you feeling good? What do you think? Who most stands in the way?
Should be feeling good now. JuJu got hurt.
Hanging another banner?
Oh.
In case you missed it, she was asked, what do you feel about the Huskies? He really said this with a bit of an attitude too. Should be feeling good. JuJu got hurt. What is that all about? I'll tell you what that's all about. But now that I told you what he said, again.
What do you think? Who most stands in the way?
Should be feeling good now. JuJu got hurt.
Hanging another banner?
Oh.
What do we think?
I do feel good. I mean, even the game that Paige played yesterday in the Huskies, I know they played South Dakota, but Paige was super aggressive in how she was playing. Like, she scored at every level. I don't think there was I mean, we saw her entire wheelhouse. It was awesome to watch. So I feel really good going to the tournament for them.
Look at Stevie.
We got to get another championship. It's been a while.
Absolutely. Napheesa, you are fantastic. I
Look
know
at his
you're a
look.
very
Look at his
busy
look.
woman, but if you ever have time, please come join us again, and all the best to you and all your endeavors.
Yeah, thank you guys.
So in case you haven't caught on, let me help you out a little bit here. Napheesa Collier was way off of script, way off of the script that they had intended for her. Are you feeling good about UConn? He said, you should be feeling good. JuJu got hurt and had like an attitude. She either didn't hear him or totally ignored him, because she clearly is UConn to the bone. And she talked about Paige. That was unacceptable to Stephen A, because we're not supposed to be talking about Paige. We're only supposed to be talking about JuJu. And I'm not talking about the injury and all that. They already asked her about the injury at the beginning. Of course, everyone feels bad about the injury, but she was not supposed to say UConn. She was not supposed to say Paige Beckers, because remember, he's already asked us on at least 2 occasions why people are not covering JuJu more, why people are not talking about JuJu like they were talking about Caitlin. Did a video about that, because he's the media. So why aren't you talking about her, Stephen A, other than saying she's special? She's special. She can. Okay. So people are talking about her, by the way, and we're talking about her anyway. But since he wanted to pretend they weren't, then he should have been the one that's talking about her more. He didn't like it that she talked about UConn, that she totally dismissed what he said before. And she's talking about UConn. She's talking about Paige. Now, y'all know me. I'm not a UConn fan. Obviously, she is. She played for UConn. He really actually says, you should feel good. JuJu is hurt, which is to me extremely insensitive, number one. But number two, it's the narrative he's already laying. What would that narrative be, Adrienne? The narrative is that if USC doesn't win the tournament, it's because JuJu isn't playing. They want to make that clear. They also want to make it clear that if JuJu never wins a tournament, because it's hard to get to this place. It's hard to have a team where you are in contention, serious contention, where people are saying your name, in the same sentence as a championship. It's hard to get back there. They want to lay the foundation. ESPN and Stephen A, like I said, is a willing participant. They want to lay the foundation that if JuJu never gets a championship, it's only because JuJu is hurt. You should feel good. JuJu is hurt. If you win UConn, if your alma mater wins, Napheesa, it's because JuJu is hurt. That's really insulting to a team, by the way, to say this, well, you should feel good because, in other words, since JuJu, y'all might win, but it's only because JuJu isn't playing. And the foundation is being laid that if JuJu comes back, and we believe she will, and plays, but never gets that championship, well, it's because in this moment, she was just too hurt. Why is that narrative important? Because ESPN, that's the group of people who said Caitlin Clark can't be considered the greatest of all time or even in the top 5 because she never won a college championship. I'm telling you, you can think I'm way out there if you want, but I'm telling you, the narratives are real and it's never too early. You see it in politics, you see it in sports, you see it in your local organization down the street from your house. There is a narrative, and the narrative here is supposed to be that JuJu is the best of the best, better than Caitlin Clark. That's why they don't even think about Kelsey Mitchell. JuJu surpassed Caitlin Clark, even though Caitlin Clark didn't even lead the record, if there is such a thing, in the first 2 years. But it's got to be JuJu. But so What do you think JuJu would have done if she didn't get hurt, Napheesa? Notice that was the question. Right after they asked her how she felt about JuJu's injury, what do you think JuJu would do? And what do you think her team would have done if she didn't get hurt? And Napheesa went to UConn. They would have had to come up against UConn. People were expecting that to be a battle and a good battle, and I got to go with UConn. So she totally destroyed what he was expecting. So then at the end of the interview, when Molly's ready to let her go, he's got to chime in and say, yeah, you feel good because JuJu is hurt. And if JuJu were not hurt, you would not be feeling good because nobody would win if JuJu were not hurt. No one else would win if JuJu would not have not gotten hurt. And so that'll be the narrative. This girl who is special, this girl we should be covering like Caitlin Clark, she doesn't win a championship. She could still be in the top 5 in ESPN's mind because the only reason anybody else would win is because JuJu got hurt. So you should feel good about your chances because there's no JuJu. They're laying the foundation for the future. And yes, I do believe they are that strategic in the narrative. And he wouldn't know about all these other players because you will not convince me that Stephen A is watching women's basketball. He so much has admitted that before, but he knows JuJu. He knows she's special. And unfortunately, she's hurt. And what if they never get back to this kind of play that they're at now? Well, you all should be glad that JuJu is hurt, he's saying. Foundation is being laid. What do you think? I know I'm right. I know I'm right. You might disagree. Get in the comments. Be respectful. I'll catch you next time, God willing. God bless you abundantly.